Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates radio show, a I Still Own You Monday edition. And I'm joined right now, my fine co-devil for the hour. He is Batman. He is Matt Rothschild from the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. Welcome back, Batman.
Hey, Crudy. Thanks for having me on again. It's always fun.
Well, thank you. And Luke on the board and you perhaps on the phones, 844-967-2789. But Batman, if you don't mind indulging me, I want to start with the weekend shows. And I got to be honest with you. The weekend show I watched this weekend was the Packer pregame show. I did not watch the Sunday shows, but very shortly after, I got a little bored, started searching the interwebs and found some coverage of Wisconsin's own U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. And apparently he went on the Maria Bartiromo on the Foxy Business News. And Rojo was out there representing the state of Wisconsin, man. Don't you love when Rojo represents?
I shudder to think what he said this time.
Well, he had a couple of thoughts, and we'll talk about them. But first and foremost, Luker, gonna need your help. Let's play the Rojo sound on the Bartiromo Foxy Business News. Cut number one, because he's number one in your hearts, Ron Johnson.
What are your thoughts in terms of a vote on October 31?
Well, I hope for Democrat gridlock. Oftentimes in Washington, D.C., gridlock is the better alternative, but when it's Democrat gridlock, pray for it. I hope that's exactly what happens.
Pray for it. Democratic gridlock. This is a guy that voted against raising the debt ceiling, raising, the debt ceiling to pay debts incurred under Donald Trump's governance. And he was a U.S. Senator then. Rojo has been for like 12 years. And Rojo voted against the American Rescue Plan, and specifically was the individual senator that ended stimulus checks for Americans. I believe 1,400 was the proposal at the time. And Rojo said, hell no. But this guy's out there, hoping for Democratic gridlock, obviously, because he only cares about electoral outcomes. And we don't know if Ron's running again. We'll talk about the fundraising numbers in just a minute. But I suspect he is. I think he's full crazy. I think Ron has crossed a line of demarcation that I don't even know where the hell Ron's brain's at.
He crossed the river crazy.
But he was always cheering for Democratic gridlock. He was part of the Democratic gridlock because Republicans are intransigent. They're obstructionist. One more from Rojo, talking about some experimental stuff. What about ivermectin? And, I'm not making money from it. Cut number two, you're a senator, at least if you live in Wisconsin. Well, he's a U.S. senator. He's all of your senator. He's Ron Johnson. Cut two.
It's not an irrational decision for people to say, I don't want to take this experimental vaccine. And another point is the fact that the only FDA-approved drug, the Comirnaty version of the Pfizer drug, I do not believe it's widely available.
They're going to be making big money on these vaccines and drugs, Pfizer and Moderna on the vaccines and Merck on this drug as well. What happened to ivermectin?
Well, there's not money in it.
There's not money in horse paste. There's not money in taking this it's an anti-malarial. What's it supposed to be used for?
Oh, God only knows. It's unless you're a veterinarian. I mean, it's ridiculous. And to call the Pfizer vaccine an experimental drug, it's gotten full approval. The booster's gotten full approval. There have been 160 million Americans who've taken it. That's a huge data set.
Well, there's like 1 billion internationally. It's a large number. It's going to be a large number. And ivermectin, I mean, he was the same guy, U.S. Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, same guy advocating for hydroxychloroquine. Hell, he had hearings on it.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a snake oil salesman. He peddles one kind of snake oil after another. It's really a crime, though. I mean, people need to get this vaccine. I just got my booster over the weekend, so I'm feeling good about that.
You.
And I got my flu vaccine, too, so I'm good to go. But
bulletproof Batman.
I think so. I'm hoping. But anyway, just to keep churning out these ridiculous stories about this medicine, that medicine, take that instead of take the stuff that's already got an FDA approval. I mean, the result of that is we have 720,000 dead Americans right now.
Yes, we do. We've got a little reaction to U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. Now, this reaction was from a MSNBC panel, so consider the source. But the first voice you're going to hear here is columnist. I would consider her conservative columnist, Jennifer Rubin. They used to label her as such over at the Washington Post. And here's what she had to say about Ron Johnson. And I agree with this sentiment. You know, I have something of a relationship with the man. He used to come on the show. He used to bring beer. And while he was, you know, partisan, he was not Baquano crazy, at least not to my assessment. But something's changed. And here's what Jennifer Rubin said. Cut number 3, please.
What's he talking about?
He's talking about nothing. And, you know, this is complete crap coming from him. He never used to be this insane. He was a businessman. And for years, he operated like a kind of fiscal conservative, sort of normal Republican, but no more. He has jumped upon the Trump train. And let me be perfectly clear, to borrow from a Republican president, he is killing people. People listen to them. They are dissuaded from taking a life-saving vaccine. He is contributing to death. He is not pro-life. He is helping to kill people, and he should be ashamed. I would hope the people of Wisconsin have, if he decides to run for re-election, he hasn't quite decided, throw him out on his ear. And this is what we're now reduced to. One party is willing for people to die so that they can pay homage to this lunatic and they can keep their seats. And it's really nothing short of disgraceful.
And I think that Ron Johnson realizes the only way to inspire the voters that he would need to win re-election is to be full Trumper, to be full anti-vaxxer, Matt.
Yeah, in private, like when he was at that Republican convention or gathering, he said, you know, Trump, and you're running that ad sometimes with Ron Johnson. Trump didn't get as many votes as other Republicans on the ticket. So on the one hand, you know, when he's in private, he seems to recognize reality. When he's talking in public, he's just kissing up to Trump and fueling the right-wing base.
And it was odd because Ron Johnson, as I noted, used to come on the show about every 6 weeks. And he did so for 6 or 7 years. And when Trump got elected, you know, we would push him about Trump. And off the air, he was always like, oh, you know me, boys. I'm not going to defend his tweets. I'm not going to defend Donald Trump's conduct. You know, I'm just here for the federal judge of judicial appointments and the Supreme Court seats. Well, he was pretty transparent about what motivated him, that and the tax cuts, of course. But Ron Johnson has gone full Baquano crazy, or at least that's the way he acts. We've got one more MSNBC panelist post Rojo's appearance on Maria Bartiromo. And I got to wonder what the hell happened to Maria Bartiromo. I used to find her to be a pretty solid financial reporter, and she is anything but. She's gone full Trump too. Here's John Bresnahan. He is one of the MSNBC panelists, and here's what he said about Rojo.
What's the view of him on the Hill?
You know, his comments, he's been doing this for months. He's been doing it for a long time. His comments is anti-vaccine. He's questioning the science behind vaccines. He's questioning, you know, talking about ivermectin and all this stuff. I mean, he's been doing this for a while, and he's really made some really poorly thought out comments. He's really, you know, I mean, you know, it just seems like the more he's criticized though on it, the more he digs in on it. And, you know, and let's also point out here that people are giving him platforms to do this. And I think that's also, you know, I mean, but it is stunning to see a U.S. senator, a national political leader, making these kind of comments. And, you know, we're a year and a half into a pandemic that's killed over 720,000 Americans.
Yeah, it's a big number. A lot of dead people.
Yeah, it's horrifying. And historians are going to look back on this and just say, who is most responsible for letting this thing go so far so bad? And Trump is going to be right up there. Ron Johnson's going to be right up there. All the anti-vaxxers are going to be right up there, and especially those who fed the anti-vaxxers these falsehoods.
I'm not sure what motivates them. I mean, I know, and it's weird. I pointed this out, Matt. You probably heard some of this. I was in Des Moines, Iowa, and very recently it started coming to my attention. And I was at a Donald Trump rally, and it's not a setting I normally would spend my time, but I've been to many Trump rallies. First time I ever attended as, a deplorable, if you will. First time I ever joined with the crowd and stood in the line and waited through. And it's strange to me because I feel like it's now, it's the voters. The voters are F Joe Biden. It used to be enough to just lock her up. Now it's F Joe Biden. Well, Joe Biden, have you met the man? I've met the man. He doesn't inspire an FU sort of sentiment out of most human beings. And you could say, I don't like his policies, but most Trumpsters don't know about his policies. They really don't. They might be anti-Afghanistan in the withdrawal efforts. And, they've been hearing about it on Hannity for 2 months. But to see this sort of animus that's then reflected back by the political sorts, that's what's crazy to me, Matt.
Yeah, I saw over the weekend that Biden was talking to a bunch of school kids outside, and the righties were saying F Joe Biden in front of the school kids. I mean, that's how outrageous it's gotten. And you're right about fueling the animus. That's what's going on when Ron Johnson does these ridiculous comments about anti-vax. He's just, and the same thing about November 3rd. They're just giving rancid red meat to their base, and there may be hell to pay for that.
Do you see that Donald Trump over the course of the weekend went wading into Wisconsin gubernatorial politics? And there's a Trump embracive candidate, her name Rebecca Clayfish. Hell, I know the family. I know her husband fairly well. And I thought she went full Trumpster. I thought, wow, she didn't have to do that. Well, now Trump is dogging her. He's got a better choice. He's trying to recruit his own candidates to run for Wisconsin governor. And for our new friends at WCPT 820 AM, our friends in Chicago, I just got to say, I still own you. I've owned you my whole life. Come back. More Devil's Advocates. Sorry, had to do it.
We've all felt left out. And for people who move to this country, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
According to the Federalist Waller account being read into the congressional record by Ron Johnson, if this is just a small number of instigators in 100,000 true Trump-loving people, why did the Trumpsters stop the instigators? Why wouldn't you say, hey, they're not like us, let's stop those guys, instead of joining them and breaking into the U.S. Capitol?
I really believe I'd run in there even if I didn't have a weapon.
Listen to Devil's Advocates weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for nasty women everywhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Going to the phone soon, 844-967-2789. Congratulations to the Minnesota Vikings. I was worried about you guys this Sunday. At least you pulled one out. And the Bears still suck. Sorry, Bears. Sorry, WCPT 820 AM listeners. You're probably all fine people, but you've got terrible choice in sporting teams. Packers, top of the NFC North, where we belong. So anyways, there's that. I got a fine co-devil for the hour. He is Matt Rothschild. I call him Batman. He is from the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, and he's a friend of ours. And you could be a friend of ours. You can join this show. And I see one creeping out there, a conservative. I might take him at 844-967-2789. CJ, I'll let you on the air, but you got to say hi to my friend Matt Rothschild.
Hey, Matt.
Hey,
How you
CJ.
doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good. I'm good, thank you.
CJ, do you believe, let me ask you a quick one, then I'll let you go. Do you believe F. Joe Biden is a proper sentiment?
Do I believe what? I'm sorry.
F. Joe Biden. Instead of using the profanity, just, you know what I'm trying to say, F. Joe Biden. I went down to Des Moines, Iowa, and I know you're pretty conservative, CJ, and I saw like 40,000 Trump supporters. And I got to tell you, man, it was an eye-popping number. And I thought of you, CJ. I thought, I wonder if CJ's in this ocean of people. But the sentiment that night, CJ, I was a little surprised. The sentiment.
I say, let's go, Brandon, is what I say.
But that also,
Brandon,
for those that are uninformed, that also means F. Joe Biden, does it not?
No, you know what? Did you hear that President Biden, our commander, cut and run, left American and allies behind in Afghanistan?
Well, I heard it on Hannity's show, and I know you've brought it up once or twice, CJ.
How come you guys don't talk about that? He cut and run on our Americans.
Well, CJ, I think he probably carried through on a plan that Donald Trump first started, and I think it was poorly executed.
God.
But CJ, hear me out, man.
You cannot.
You didn't let me talk, CJ.
Trump into he didn't even listen to his own military advisors.
Well, you don't listen to me, CJ. So, I thought they were Trump's generals.
So I know you guys want to distract from this guy's failures. How about the economy?
CJ,
how about inflation?
Okay, let's talk about inflation for a minute. There is inflation. Gas prices are as high as they've been in 7 years.
Ever.
No, as high as they've been in 7 years. CJ, we've seen similar gas prices to what we're experiencing now. I don't know if you recall, I've been to California, man. It's like $4 a gallon out there. We've got people listening right now paying a hell of a lot more than you do to fill up the pickup truck. But here's the point. There's certainly a spike in gas prices, and there's certainly problems in the supply chain. What's Joe Biden supposed to do about that, CJ?
Well, he said he's been working on it since February. So just like the border, and he's let 100,000 Haitians and illegals into the country.
You keep moving the goalpost.
Bomb.
So
you be serious. Name a success that he's had. Name a success.
I would say the American Rescue Plan was something of a big deal for a lot of people. I think the $300 or more per family per child that they're receiving in their mailbox on the 15th of each month, I think that's a big deal to a lot of Americans, CJ. Now you can say it's
unemployed, and he won't let them get back to work.
What's he doing to stop them, CJ? The extended unemployment benefits they've terminated, sir. So you've talked about 5 different subjects here, CJ. But pick a topic, man.
More the gas prices, the wealthy, or the people that are lower income? Who's the gas prices hurting more?
Well, I would say the poor people. So should we therefore tax the rich?
How much more? You guys are hilarious. This is almost sad. I mean, you want them to pay their fair share, and yes, the $3.5 trillion is going to cost 0 to Joe Biden.
Well,
right?
Joe
That's
Biden
the
makes
math
more than
you guys are
$400,000 a year, so he's going to see a tax increase. I'll be okay, and I think you'll be okay. But CJ, ultimately, let me ask you, our defense budget is $700 billion a year. And the cost of being in Afghanistan, I agree that it was an ugly execution of the withdrawal, but we're saving up to $300 million per day. That's $1 billion every 3 days. Can we possibly spend half as much as we're spending on our defense budget in investing, not squandering, CJ, not giving free money to people that don't want to work, but actually building roads and bridges and infrastructure and giving people childcare so they can get back to work? Could you actually see that?
Does that include the illegals that he's let into the country?
CJ, I'm done, man. You've moved on to topic number 6, and I'm like 5 times the lady. So one last thought, man, I appreciate you indulging that phone call. You know, our biggest problem with immigration is we need more immigrants. You know, Fox News has made this such a scandal. Oh, we've got all these immigrants, and it's only a problem. This COVID and unvaccinated people are only a problem if they're crossing the southern border on Fox News. But ultimately, we need those immigrants. You know, vaccinate them and have them come over. We need the labor. If you can't find people to do the jobs, you know what? We got a willing labor force coming from the South.
I mean, Wisconsin's dairy industry would collapse without immigration, without immigrant workers.
When they do a day without Latinos, when Voces de la Frontera, Christy Newman Ortiz and her organization, when they call their people and their people start marching, there's thousands of them. And the dairy farms, they have to, you know, make arrangements, because when their Latino workforce, when their farmhands don't show up, the place shuts down.
No one to milk the cows.
And the cows got to get milked. Just like the show's got to get made. More Devil's Advocates. Come back with me and Batman, Matt Rothschild. Your phone calls could be next, except in George and CJ, you're done for the day. So bye. Bye, Felicia. Your calls. If you're not CJ or George, though, yours could be next. 844-967-2789. Vikings fans, Bears fans, you know, you're all welcome here.
Make sure you listen to Devil Radio 92.7. If you do, you go to heaven.
We're putting the band back together.
Sexy Liberal is in person again, this time in Madison.
Okay, fine. Madison it is.
At the Barrymore Theater, October 23rd. All 4 cast members will be on stage performing together.
But going into Wisconsin.
Stephanie Miller.
Can I just go with bunker bitch? How many times did you actually your diaper in your little bunker?
John Fugelsang.
What a pleasure it is to be in a room full of so many atheists doing the Lord's work.
Comedy duo Frangela.
Y'all are some sexy liberals. Yes.
And Hal Sparks.
I got kicked out of the South for thinking too much.
All live and in person at the Barrymore Theater in Madison on October 23rd. But if you can't get to Wisconsin in October, the show will also be simulcast live via pay-per-view on Meathook. Come see the show live or stay at home and watch in the comfort of your living room. A limited number of post-show meet and grope tickets will be available at the Barrymore show. And please, all attendees need to be vaccinated to attend the live show. October 23rd at the Barrymore in Madison. Sexy Liberal
Coronavirus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished mixed. The Dow down 36 points. His family says Colin Powell died from complications of the coronavirus. He was 84. The family also said the former Secretary of State and former chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff was fully vaccinated. President Biden was asked about that.
He has serious underlying conditions. As you know, that's the problem. It wasn't that he got vaccinations aren't good. He had 2 very serious underlying conditions.
At the White House, President Biden praised Powell.
He rose to the highest ranks, not only in the military, but also in areas of foreign policy and statecraft. This is a guy, and we talk about it, who had teachers who looked at this African-American kid and said, you can do anything.
Colin Powell's reputation was stained by his faulty claims to justify the 2003 U.S. war in Iraq. I'm Ed Donahue.
Some people treat investing like a game, but Marcus by Goldman Sachs approaches investing in a smart way with digitally managed portfolios that leverage Goldman Sachs strategies. So, do you want to play games or do you want your money to work smart? You can money. Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving, borrowing, and investing from Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Investing involves risk and investments may lose value. Brokerage and investment advisory services by Goldman Sachs & Company, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC. Lending and deposits products provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC.
My stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Stream channel.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. On Friday, the Wisconsin Natural Resources Board indicated it plans to hire private attorneys to defend the board's pro-wolf hunt position in 2 lawsuits that are being brought against the Department of Natural Resources. Frederick Krenn, who has refused to step down as the board's chairman since his term expired on May 1st, stated on Friday that the Wisconsin Department of Justice and Attorney General Josh Kaul have not consulted the board's members in regards to the lawsuits. A DOJ spokeswoman responded saying the department is working with attorneys from the DNR and will attend today's meeting where the policy board plans to take a vote to hire private attorneys to defend the wolf hunt position. Forecast of sunshine for the area today with light winds up to 10 miles an hour and a high today of 71 degrees. Clear skies expected to continue into the evening with an overnight low around 48 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Got a fine co-devil right now. His name's Matt Rothschild. He is with the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. 1 hour from now, I'm joined by a fine comedian, Hal Sparks. Unofficially, this is Stephanie Miller Week in the great city of Madison, state of Wisconsin. She is coming to town October 23rd. Get your tickets to the Stephanie Miller Show. We've got all the fine comedians on this big show all week long. Today is Hal Sparks. Tomorrow, John Fugelsang. Wednesday, I got Stephanie Miller coming on the show. And Thursday, we got Frangela. All of them appearing at 4:30 Central Time. Set a clock. And please listen. Devil's Advocates, all the funny people, and then the big show. Saturday night, be there. I'll be there. You'll be there. Get your tickets. The Barrymore Theater in Madison. Or you can join us live. They're doing a pay-per-view. It's only like $20 to do the pay-per-view event. And we'll get to the phones here in just a moment. 844-967-2789. I've got a statement from the former president, Matt. You know, I get my inbox filled up quite often by the Trump super PAC, Save America. And this statement comes from the 45th president of the United States, still calls himself that. Working hard to get very popular and capable former Congressman Sean Duffy of Wisconsin to run for governor. He would be fantastic. A champion athlete. Now, I'll interrupt here. The Trump statement. He was a champion athlete as a lumberjack. The guy was like in the lumberjack games. I mean, now that's impressive. The fact that the guy can climb a tree like a monkey is pretty impressive. But I would tell you, it's not the Olympics. It's a different sort of Olympics. Log rolling. I would guess Stuffy pretty good at log rolling, but I'm not sure what his specialty was. Trump goes on to say, beyond the fact that he's a champion athlete, Sean Duffy loves the people of Wisconsin and would be virtually unbeatable. The other note, Duffy and his wife just moved out of the great state of Wisconsin. So their Wausau area home, they're now residing in New Jersey. And the Duffys, if you recall, Matt, why Duffy resigned his position in the Congress. Well, their 9th child, I think it was, they're definitely breeders. Their 9th child had some conditions, and there was supposed to be some surgery. And this child obviously was going to have some challenges. And Duffy stated, got to spend more time with the family, more time with the wife and kids, and then quit the Congress and took a job at CNN, right? Is that how it went? That's how my memory serves. And the wife, Rachel, well, she's been back to work at Foxy News. As Trump would describe it, his wife, Rachel, is likewise an incredible person. You know, he would love to take her furniture shopping. A little bit more here. Man, I forgotten. The day the Access Hollywood came down, you and I were on the air together, and some of that could not be repeated on the air, but you did and I did.
Did I get you in trouble?
Well, sort of, but a panicked program director from Heartless Media came running down the hallway and said, "You can't say that." A little bit more here from Trump's statement over the weekend. They're both doing very well, so this would be a big sacrifice, but hopefully it will be a sacrifice that will be made for the great state of Wisconsin and its wonderful, hardworking people. Run, Sean, run. Now, don't forget, he prior has encouraged Ron Johnson to run. Run, Ron, run. Now it's run, Sean, run. And then in parentheticals at the end, a little spinoff of the great Herschel Walker. Because no one ever thought of saying run, blank, run until Herschel Walker won the Heisman at Georgia, like 1980, right? Now he's a senatorial candidate. He's raising big money, $3.2 million in the quarter. Herschel Walker raised.
You know, it's weird, though, that Trump is surfacing Sean Duffy here. I haven't seen his name being thrown around here in political circles in Madison before. I mean, Rebecca Clayfish is supposed to have the inside lane. I know the person who was going to run against her decided not to run against her in the primaries, and she's raised a decent amount of money. But what I think is that there is a person in Trump land close to the Trump inner circle who's a Wisconsinite who keeps feeding him this stuff.
Is it Priebus? Who do you think it is?
It's possibly Priebus. You know, they went after, but I don't think it would.
Wanker. Is it the Wanker?
I think it's Walker, because Walker doesn't like Clayfish. He never liked her when she was lieutenant governor. Didn't support her for lieutenant governor the first time around. Also, Walker doesn't like Voss. And
what a Wanker move. Do you think Scott Walker would literally encourage the former president to go and recruit an alternative candidate to Rebecca Clayfish? Well, I love this theory. You think Wanker would do that?
I think so. Maybe he was behind, the attacks on Voss that came from Trump too, because Walker and Voss, didn't see eye to eye all the time when they were there in the Capitol. So maybe Walker's feeding nasty stuff to Trump, who just recycles it.
Once a wanker, always a wanker. 844-967-2789. A friend messages me, Jeff, I read them. Don't knock log rolling just because Sean sucks doesn't mean you have to put down the whole sport. My bad. Mea culpa, all you log rolling. I don't even know what the sport's called. The log rolling.
The Lumberjacks.
Oh, the Lumberjack Championship. Because my buddy Jeff, much like Sean Duffy, probably a world-class athlete. 844-967-2789. You Timber Sports, they're called, Jeff informs me. Okay, that's enough messaging. Jeff, I get the point. 844, you can call 844-967-2789. Jake from Milwaukee. Say hi to Batman.
Hello, Batman.
Hey, Jake, how are you?
Good. I just want to tell you how much I love CJ. He is everything that right-wing radio has created. He is down to it to a T. He has no brains anymore. If he did, they're gone long ago. All he does is parrot the stuff over and over again, and he's just mean, like mean old white male. So it's just CJ. Keep on calling, because we need your sage advice. Because I laugh my ass off when you call, because you can't even win an argument against truth. Because you keep on moving it.
Come on, man. What's that mean? It's difficult to win an argument against Crudy. I have
this
refined
is thing.
Rhetorical skills, and I make up words.
Well, some days you have time. You have problems reading. Not today. You're doing pretty good. But anyway, CJ, can you just stop interrupting for a second and show a little bit of respect? Because if I try to call Clan O'Donnell or one of the other radio Nazis, I wouldn't even get on the station, right? They wouldn't even let me go because it's not the same message over and over again. So you actually get an opportunity to come here, but why don't you show some a little bit of respect, okay? Because, it's just a good thing to do, instead of just being a jerk, but I guess you don't have any other choice because you can't think for yourself. Oh, that's all I wanted to say, but that's what I said. I mean, there's millions of people like him, and that's why this nation can't have nice things. It's because
sorry. Mega Dittos, Jake. 844-967-2789. I actually take the opposite tack about Whitey Talk Radio. I think that every line sits open most of the time. And, around here, I always try to have some conversational partner. Today, it's my fine co-devil, Matt Rothschild. And otherwise, I find I'm talking to the producer. But do you ever notice how many right-wing talk radio shows that come off a lot like a monologue? It's just a guy talking to the airwaves, to you in your car or whatever, just spewing a little hate, telling you who to dislike, who to be scared of. And I always thought to myself, well, that doesn't exactly inspire phone calls. And probably they're sitting there with empty lines, because when I call into right-wing talk radio products, and I do so occasionally, Mike and Madison, Mike on a car phone, things like that, I'll call in. And now I think they recognize me on Clan O'Donnell's show. They've put me on the do not call list, but I've called in before, and like 2 minutes later, I'm on the air. And I can't give you that assurance here. Usually we got a few more options than that at 844-967-2789. I'll say it for you again. 844-967-2789. But I have no doubt that they have audience. Matt, I made this point recently in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Milwaukee is a big media market, number 32, I believe, in the nation. About 1.8 million in the media market. That includes Milwaukee, Kenosha, and Racine. And right-wing talk radio is killing it. And when I say killing it, I mean, number one is the moderate right-wing talk radio is WTMJ. And number two, and just by a whisker, is WISN, where Clan O'Donnell plays out in Milwaukee. And they're pulling a 9 share, each of those stations. Cumulative, you add them together, they're pulling an 18 share. And people say, well, what the hell does that mean? It means like 1 in 5 radios in the city of Milwaukee from 6 a.m. till midnight are tuned into right-wing talk radio. Right now, there's hundreds of thousands of people listening to right-wing talk radio. It's crazy.
And this is why we're getting beat up. I mean, and that's why I admire what you've been doing with your radio project over the last decade here, Crudy. I mean, the left and the progressive sector has not invested enough in progressive radio and in a media infrastructure to counter the right wing. They're way ahead of us. They've been ahead of us for decades. It's time to wake up and support progressive radio and a progressive media infrastructure.
Well, Matt, they used to at least have the foot soldiers that was the union movement. And earlier on Dueling Tangents, right here on Devil Radio, I sat in with Luke today, Fancy Brian, a little under the weather. And we talked a little bit about labor and the labor movement. Obviously, the labor movement was eviscerated right here in the state of Wisconsin by Scott Walker. And first he went after the public sector unions, then he went after the private sector unions. And it's gotten to the point where, the unions aren't the force they used to be. And I'm not trying to poke the unions. I love my Teamster friends, and I loved our painter friends and the different ones that have supported lefty talk radio here in the state of Wisconsin. But Matt, the union movement has been crippled.
And that was by design. It was not only to shove it to organized labor, because they don't like unions in the workforce. Their corporate donors don't like unions in the workforce, but they wanted to shove it to the political wing of the Democratic Party, which the unions were a big part of. I mean, SEIU is still doing a lot of good work, so are some other unions too. But they got kicked in the teeth, no doubt about it.
Well, and Matt, the Democrats, they're foot soldiers. The unions got kicked in the teeth, and right-wing talk radio props out a big part of the agenda of the right-wing movement. And they get propped up by, local college sports teams. They play out on the same AM talk stations. You get the Badger game, you get the Packer game, and then you get a healthy dose of Rush Limbaugh or Dan O'Donnell or whatever the case may be. And it's affecting of the environment. And ultimately, the northern part of Wisconsin, where Sean Duffy served as a congressman, and I use the term served very loosely, he cashed the paychecks, right, Matt? But it is so strange to me that Wisconsin has become, Dan Balls at the Washington Post described it as two states, a very red state and a very blue state. And Matt, when I look at and referencing back the actions of Ron Johnson, this supposed change in Ron, I think Ron's looked at the electoral demographics and said, if I don't go full Trumpster crazy, I really have no chance of winning re-election. You know, Trump won by 21,000 votes in Wisconsin, and then Trump lost by like 22,000 votes in Wisconsin. If Ron Johnson doesn't get every crazy ass Trumpster, he's got no chance of winning re-election because he can't play the moderate card. So if he doesn't go full Trump, man, what's he got left?
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And the problem is there are people who are just on a 24/7 IV drip from Fox and Sean Hannity and right wing talk radio, people like CJ, and that's all they hear, and they don't hear other ideas unless they're calling into your show.
Well, I appreciate that you tune in, CJ, and all you conservatives, you are welcome here, but you can only pick 5 or 6 moving targets. Then eventually it becomes cumbersome to try and talk to you. 844-967-2789 doesn't mean we won't give the old college try, except for you, CJ. You got to wait till tomorrow. Everybody else, the phone lines are open. You can call, you can text. Once again, the number 844-96-PARTY. It is a political party right here. Devil's Advocates, Matt Rothschild, me, and you on the phones.
For the only thing better than Duff.
Better than Duff?
What are you talking about? Free Duff stuff.
Oh, yeah. I think you're just stupid. I think they're idiots.
You care for the house, the kids, and our future. A Shiro's day is never done. So let's start saving a little more now. Get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids, thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertisement. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it.
When your kid can't find the language, find the lyrics. Start a conversation at soundedouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Our friend Scott Russ.
Johnson's going to have this hearing next week. The way in which he has misused and abused his office in order to try and further these crackpot theories he had 2 anti-vaxxer hearings. I don't understand what the point of that is. It's one thing to be like, all right, if you're a Republican, you're like, I'll just try and forget that Trump said we might be able to inject ourselves with bleach to solve this COVID problem. But why would you so revel in your own crapulence that you would actually have several hearings in the United States Senate?
Listen to Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
Devil's Advocates radio show. I got Matt Rothschild as my co-devil for the hour. I got Luke on the boards, and you could be on the phones. You got to dial and stick around. What all these people calling during the commercial break just to give commentary? It works better if you give it on the air. That's where it's appreciated. I'll give the number. I'll say it slow for CJ and people like him one more time. 844-967-2789. We had a little off color and off topic, but Christopher Steele this weekend got interviewed once again. Christopher Steele was this MI6 guy, this agent that apparently in some offhanded way had been employed by the Hillary Clinton campaign, and he created this dossier. And within the context of this dossier, he made the accusation against Donald Trump that he was somehow compromised, that the Russians had a videotape. And over the course of the weekend, he came out once again and said, probably does. And the videotape, and Steele was pushed back on. The questioner said, well, then why didn't Russia drop the videotape? He said, well, as near as I can tell, Trump was pretty compliant. And I would say that holds up. Now, Michael Cohen, the disgraced former attorney of Donald Trump, says, you know what, that never happened. But what do you think about the whole Steele dossier, the Russia, hell, we've still got a special counsel trying to push charges against FBI agents. Do you think we'll ever put this behind us?
Well, I think there was more to the Russia scandal than we found out in the Mueller report, and I hope some of that will eventually come out. I do think the Russians had something on Trump. He always acted, or he just loves Putin. That's the other thing. He loves the strong man, so that's not a surprise. He wants to be, Putin in America.
But Trump in a recent speech before donors, I believe at West Palm Beach, brought up the fact that I don't like to watch prostitutes pee on each other. Ask Melania, she knows. Like, she even didn't believe that one. Like the other stuff, Melania believed because, of course, so much of it was true, but Melania didn't even believe that one. But he brought it up unsolicited, unprovoked. Who goes to the back of their brain and thinks, yeah, I'm going to bring up the PP tape again?
Every insult that has ever come his way, he has it real close to the surface and can throw it back. But yeah, his mind is just a cave of things to explore, and I leave it to this psychiatrist to do it. But he's still a clear and present danger to our democracy. We can't forget that.
Colin Powell died this morning. A little bit of a sad note when I started the day, and I started noticing the political news. Apparently, although fully vaccinated, Colin Powell was 84 years old, and he had some sort of cancer that made him vulnerable, and he did die despite being vaccinated of COVID-19. And, Colin Powell could have been a historic figure. He was the Secretary of State and obviously the first Black Joint Chiefs chair. And he was also the guy that lied us into Iraq, Matt. And I found myself sort of, I know you're not supposed to speak poorly of the dead, but I found myself immediately thinking about the fact, well, we've got 500,000 people. That whole shock and awe thing, there are a lot of dead Iraqis. And this was all predicated on a fabrication. And if it hadn't have been the statesman Colin Powell selling it to the United Nations, it probably wouldn't have happened. And I wonder, how should history remember a guy like Colin Powell, to your opinion, Matt?
Well, and he confessed later that this was the biggest blot on his career, but that's a big blot. That's a blot of 500,000.
Yeah, it's a big
folks.
one to get wrong.
Yeah. And he was, just being a good soldier, and also socially, I think he couldn't break from the Bush family because he was real close with Bush 1 and Barbara Bush. And I think those social pressures on top of his, I got to be a good soldier here, whatever was going through his mind there when he lied in front of the UN and God and everybody, and dragged this country into war on a leash of lies that Cheney and Rumsfeld were peddling so aggressively. You can't have an account of Colin Powell's life without saying he made, it's not just a small mistake. It's a huge catastrophic blunder that cost, hundreds of thousands of lives. Now, if he had resigned, maybe Bush would have gone through with it. Probably would have, I think, in my opinion, because Cheney and Rumsfeld and W were pushing for it. But it would have been a lot harder to do. And he would have looked like a hero in hindsight. And instead, he looked like he just was not strong enough to buck the tide. And I think the lesson is for people who are in positions of power, when you're being pressured to do something that in your heart and into your mind is wrong, you got to take a walk. Just resign on principle.
Unless you work for Trump, right? Then it's okay.
No, it's not okay when you work for Trump. It's not okay to work for him. It's almost to the very end and then try to cash in by writing one book after another. That's not okay.
Matt, let me ask you back to your earlier conspiracy theory. Maybe it's what Scotty Wanker encouraging Donald Trump to recruit Sean Duffy. Well, isn't that undermined by the fact that one of the Wanker kids is on the Clayfish campaign? I mean, have you not learned from experience, Matt? Scott Walker cares nothing more than, his ham and cheese and Matt and Alex.
Getting the boys into the game. Well, maybe it wasn't Walker. Maybe it was a Walker aide, but it was someone who knows Wisconsin politics in and out and who's got axes to grind and is grinding them and letting Trump grind them for him.
One more thought. How do you think they're responding to this encouragement of Duffy over in Team Clayfish camp?
Oh, they could not have been happy about that, but I think they're going to try to let this one just die despite all our talk today. And I think Clayfish is going to be the nominee, and I think it's going to be a tough race. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination, Tony Evers has an easy walk to re-election.
Well, I don't think that Rebecca Clayfish would have a walk to the nomination if Sean Duffy was in the race. I think you'd have a similar dynamic to the senatorial race that played out here in the state of Wisconsin. The primary, at least, where Leah Vukmer was the candidate of right-wing talk radio in Milwaukee, and Leah Vukmer was the candidate of the Republican Party. But who was the
Nicholson?
kid? Nicholson, the one whose parents maxed out to Tammy Baldwin. He won 6 of 7 media markets, Matt.
Well, he had a ton of money from the Eline family there. They put him on retainer.
Well, nothing like having a good sugar daddy standing behind you.
It's a big sugar daddy. The Elines, they've spent more money in Wisconsin and nationally than almost any big Republican donor.
Matt, I ran you out of time. I wanted to talk about some of the fundraising totals, the Senate race to compete against Ron Johnson. Any surprises? Ron raised less than $1 million in the quarter. Some of his opponents had more than that.
Yeah,
1 minute.
Mandela Barnes raised over $1 million. Lasry, has got $1.5 million on hand, and he can always dip into some family money to get more. Godlewski gave herself $1 million.
She dipped in the family money, apparently.
You got to be either super rich or know a lot of super rich folks to run.
If there's any sugar daddies out there that want me to run, you let me know. A couple $1 million, I could pull it off.
Or at least feed the station.
If not me, then Matt Rothschild. You'd make an excellent candidate.
Oh, thanks. But that train has left the station.
Thank you, Batman. Matt Rothschild, my fine co-devil of the hour. Stick around. The 4:00 happy hour is next. Got comedian Hal Sparks at 4:30. Your calls from the top, though, if you dial us up. 844-967-2789. Thank you, Batman.
Oh, my pleasure as always.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
This is Chad Spate. Are you thinking about improving or expanding your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're committed to making your home comfortable, healthy, attractive, durable, and sustainable. In fact, those commitments spell our name. And we deliver these services with our outstanding team of professionals who will respect you and your home. Visit our website at chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more about how we are building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Stream Progressive News and Talk 24/7, as well as download exclusive podcasts and interviews at devilradio927.com. That's devilradio927.com.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. President Biden is praising the late Colin Powell.
He rose to the highest ranks not only in the military, but also in areas of foreign policy and statecraft. This is the guy, and we talk about, who had teachers who looked at this African-American kid and said, you can do anything.
The former Secretary of State and former chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff died from complications of the coronavirus. He was 84. A reporter pointed out to President Biden that Powell had been fully vaccinated.
He had serious underlying conditions. But that's the problem. It wasn't that he got vaccinations are good. He had 2 very serious underlying conditions.
In his 2003 address to the UN Security Council, Powell cited faulty information to claim Saddam Hussein had secretly stashed weapons of mass destruction. No weapons ever materialized. A woman was raped by a stranger on a commuter train near Philadelphia in the presence of other riders. SEPTA Police Chief Thomas Nestle says someone should have said or done something.
What we want everyone to be is angry, disgusted, and join us in being resolute to continue to make the system safe.
A suspect was arrested near Philadelphia after an officer went on the train. Chicago's police chief put into writing a threat that officers could be fired if they don't comply with the city's coronavirus vaccination policy. Los Angeles County is seeking to compel psychiatric evaluations for Kobe Bryant's widow and others to determine if they truly suffered emotional distress after first responders took and shared graphic photos from the site of the helicopter crash last year that killed the basketball star, his teenage daughter, and 7 others. Vanessa Bryant had claimed in court papers that she suffered severe emotional distress. Stocks finished mixed, the Dow down 36 points. This is AP News.
Some people treat investing like a game, but Marcus by Goldman Sachs approaches investing in a smart way with digitally managed portfolios that leverage Goldman Sachs strategies. So, do you want to play games or do you want your money to work smart? You can money. Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving, borrowing, and investing from Marcus by Goldman Sachs.
Investing involves risk and investments may lose value. Brokerage and investment advisory services by Goldman Sachs & Company, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC. Lending and deposits products provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC.
Ugh, my stomach.
Don't worry, I've got you covered.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
What's that?
It's Pepto-Bismol Chews.
Pepto-Bismol's in a chew?
Yeah, they taste great and provide fast relief. And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol Chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
At Crazy Lenny's e-bikes, my store, we have solid e-bikes with 4 power levels, 7 speeds for just $844, or we have the best-selling e-bike designed for Madison bike trails, 5 power settings with throttle or center drive, 35-mile range, complete comfort spring-loaded seats, soft front adjustable shocks, a $2,000 e-bike, $600 off, just $1,400.
The largest selection in North America, 200 e-bikes on display. I've seen them
at Crazy Lenny's e-bikes.
Presented by Devil Radio, Friday and Saturday, October 29th and 30th. It's Maxine Radio's Halloween Spooktacular Weekend at Funk's Pub in Fitchburg. Friday night, catch tribute versions of The Pretenders, Cranberries, and Culture Club. And on Saturday, catch local hard rock favorites Mickey Magnum with Queen of Dreams and Iron Plow. It's Maxine Radio's Halloween Spooktacular Weekend, October 29th and 30th at Funk's Pub. Enjoy rocker cocktails. Please drink responsibly.
The new Line 3 tar sands crude oil pipeline threatens our water and climate.
It's the end of the tar sands party, and Enbridge wants to sell some oil. Tar sands is the dirtiest oil in the world, so they really put our Great Lakes water in peril. The environmental permitting for this process is a joke. The line was shoved down our throats, and that's wrong. And we're still fighting it, and it's brutal. They should do an environmental impact statement on this project.
Visit stopline3.org to take action.
What we want is a just transition.
I'm Kirk Bankstad, and I own the Minocqua Brewing Company in Deep Red, northern Wisconsin, and I have a super PAC. We make good trouble by buying billboards, radio ads, and calls to voters in northern Wisconsin. We target federal and state elections, think Ron Johnson and Tom Tiffany, and concentrate on a fair redistricting process. Give a donation now if you're able at the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com Super PAC tab. Help us make the politics of the Northwoods as clean as our lakes and streams. That's the MinocquaBrewingCompany.com Super PAC tab.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. Advocates and volunteers at Fort McCoy in western Wisconsin say there are lingering concerns for Afghan refugees that are being housed at the military installation 7 weeks into the resettlement process. Individuals familiar with the conditions of resettlement efforts say refugees need more medical assistance, long lines for food are persisting, and shortages continue for new clothing. 2 of the largest concerns are dental assistance and need for winter coats. A special report from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel indicates Wisconsin decision makers are doing little to address the problem of prison-based gerrymandering in the current redistricting battle. Prison-based gerrymandering counts incarcerated individuals in the districts where the prison is located rather than the individual's residence. The Green Bay Packers beat the Chicago Bears yesterday afternoon 24-14. Aaron Rodgers threw for 2 touchdowns and rushed for a third. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, sliding into the Monday 4 o'clock happy hour. And I assure you, it's going to be a happy hour indeed. I got comedian Hal Sparks joining me in like 25 minutes. And Hal Sparks marks the first of 4 big days. Comedians all joining me here at 4:30 each day this week. And the occasion, Stephanie Miller coming to the Barrymore Theater, October 23rd, Saturday night show. Tickets still available. And we're going to be broadcasting there, and we're going to make it a big deal. And Madison, I want you to make this a big deal. If you're able, join us at the big Stephanie Miller show. And tonight, on this fine program, Hal Sparks, as mentioned, tomorrow, John Fugelsang. On Wednesday, we got the host herself, Stephanie Miller. And on Thursday, Frangela. And they're all flying on Friday, and then they're going to be right here in Madison, Wisconsin, partying with you fine people. Sexy Liberal Survivors Tour, I think they're calling this year's edition, in Madison, Wisconsin, the only venue they are doing. And if you're listening outside the area, if you're thinking, oh my God, I'd like to go to that party, but I can't make it to Madison, Wisconsin this Saturday night. Well, great news. You can still get the pay-per-view, a video presentation of the event. I think it's like $20. Not bad. Cheap. You know, for a good time, that's cheap. And for those that are uninitiated, if you've never been to a Stephanie Miller show, and I think I've been to 3, a little raunchy, little salty, you know, no FCC to get in the way. So you get the full Monty, let's just say. So looking forward to Saturday night. Hope to see you there. And Evan's going to produce for me this hour, you know, in deference to Fancy Brian being sick and all that kind of stuff. So hope the big galoot feels better. Hope he's back soon. But Evan, going to need your help because I want to start this hour with an appearance by Adam Schiff, Congressman Adam Schiff. And just in case you didn't see him Saturday on KXTV in Sacramento, and, you know, let's be honest, unless you're listening right now in Northern California, I'm pretty sure you didn't. But, you know, if you're in Eureka, I don't know, maybe. But he talks about Donald Trump and his iron grip on the party. Wanted to start here. Cut number 10, if you'd be so kind, Evan.
So I think he can't help but run. And I think given the iron grip he's got on that party, he's likely to be their nominee.
More from Congressman Adam Schiff of California on KXTV Sacramento. Cut 11, please.
Do I think he's going to run again? Absolutely. I think he would find it intolerable for someone else to get the spotlight.
And I feel like Adam Schiff in this regard. I think the prospect of Donald Trump running again, and if he's running, I think he'll win the nomination. I think he'll do both. And the chance that he could theoretically become the, 45th and 47th president, well, that would put democracy at risk, at least according to Adam Schiff. Cut 12.
The continued effort by Donald Trump to push the big lie is what puts our democracy at risk right now.
Well, Adam Schiff is on the committee, the January 6th committee. And my question is, why aren't they moving farther, faster? These subpoenas rolling out far too slow. They're talking about some of this stuff being pushed back to Thanksgiving. Why hasn't Trump been subpoenaed? Here's some sound. Adam Schiff talking about their expectations. Cut 13, if you would, Evan.
It's our expectation that people cooperate, but if they don't, we intend to use all the tools at our disposal to compel answers.
And one more from Adam Schiff, Saturday on KXTV Sacramento, cut 14.
We're quickly moving to hold him in criminal contempt and refer that to the Justice Department for prosecution. So we're not fooling around.
Well, here's the newest and the breaking at thehill.com. President Trump on Monday filed a federal lawsuit against the January 6th Select Committee seeking to block the panel from obtaining his administration's records from the National Archives. Here is a quote, a statement. The committee's request amounts to nothing less than a vexatious, illegal fishing expedition openly endorsed by Biden and designed to unconstitutionally investigate President Trump and his administration, the lawsuit reads. Our laws do not permit such an impulsive, egregious action against a former president and his close advisors. What laws are those, boys and girls? I wonder who's the lawyer. Is this a Rudy thing? So this is the newest. Trump is suing to block the release of his records for January 6th. And of course, the Biden administration has said, we're not extending any sort of executive privilege. Hell, we're doing just the opposite. We're going to make sure they're all released expeditiously. So Trump's suing. And I have no idea if Trump thinks he's going to be successful. I doubt that he will be successful. But of course, he doesn't want this out there in the public. You know, a little fearful of what might be contained. And here's my concern. If the Democrats don't prosecute properly, and I'm not cheering for a witch hunt here, but I do want to see the prosecution of January 6th. And I'm not talking about just the individual perpetrators. I mean, I thought about this over the course of the weekend. When I was a young dumbass kid, I did some stupid stuff and I got in trouble, and I was charged literally with inciting a riot. And I was encouraged to come in and answer some questions. And the detective that called me, Detective Brad Berkey, called me at the house and said, Mike Crute. And I said, this is he, Detective Brad Berkey. I'd like to ask you a few questions about the Coon Creek riots. And I said, well, if I don't like the tone of your questions, I'm going to ask to have legal counsel present. And Detective Berkey said, why don't you bring your lawyer? And I knew that was going to be the beginning of a long conversation, because mostly I was guilty. I had done the crime. And that makes it hard to defend oneself in a public circumstance. But I committed this crime, and it was like the first really beautiful, nice day of spring, and a lot of factors working against me. Let me just tell you, it was a party to top all parties, and a lot of shrooms came to town and whatever stuff I don't tell the kids about. But that was like in April. And I recall but July, I was on Crime Stoppers in my hometown at the time, going to college in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And I'm in a bar, and boom, there I am, front and center on the videotape. And I'm thinking, oh man, my goose is cooked. And it seemed like a incredibly long period of time from the actual commission of the crime to the charging of the crime, the booking, if you will. And I was booked and I was convicted, or at least I pled no contest and pled it down and got rid of the criminal felony starting a riot. I think we got it down to a disorderly conduct and, a little probation. You know how it goes, white privilege and that kind of stuff. But I can tell you, as long as that seemed to me as a young dumbass kid of 20 years old, and I'm waiting for these charges, and I'm waiting because I know I'm guilty, and I'm waiting for someone to make that phone call. Well, that was like May, June, July. That was 90 days. 90 days from commission of crime to, the beginning of the administration of justice. And I was charged, convicted. I had my probationary period in a couple of days in Huber before the year was out. Same year I committed the crime. By January of that year, I was in day camp jail. Well, I can tell you this. That's the sort of alacrity I want to see these prosecutors working with. That's what I want to see from Adam Schiff. And my greatest fear is the failure of Democrats to make this case publicly. Because those of us that believe and know what happened on January 6th and believe it was an insurrection against the United States government and the peaceful transition of power, well, we're already going to probably vote for the next Democrat, not giving another vote to the Republicans, at least not lightly, at least not anytime soon. But we've had guys like Ron Johnson whitewashing this. We've had, a number of Republicans on the Hill, including the minority leader, Kevin McCarthy. They're all whitewashing. They're all trying to minimize the crimes and the conspiracy that went on and the underlying intent to try and overturn the election of President Joe Biden. Why don't we have swifter justice? Why don't we have any justice? When you're talking about getting back to some of these people about subpoenas on Thanksgiving, it's not even Halloween, man. It's like a month away. I want it now. I feel like Farouk Assault over here. Quick headline over at thehill.com. Democrats face grim political reality in the midterms. They might. Democrats are grappling with the increasingly dire political reality facing them in next year's midterm elections as warning signs pile up for the party ahead of 2022. Once hopeful that they could defy the typical midterm shellacking dealt to the party in power, a series of foreboding developments has rocked the sense of optimism. President Biden's approval ratings are in free fall. His top legislative priorities have stalled, and just this week, Rep. John Yarmouth, Democrat from Kentucky, announced that he would retire, making him the first senior House Democrat to bow out ahead of the midterms. The hope, Dems, those listening to my voice, not reading now, just talking, is that we don't have a lot of retirements. Fearful Democrats that are worried that they don't want to serve in a minority party again, getting out, bailing. And incumbency gives any elected a true advantage. And the Democrats, they need that incumbency. We need as many Democrats to retain their seats as we possibly can. A little bit more. In conversations with the Hill in recent days, several Democratic strategists and operatives expressed a growing sense of pessimism about 2022. Each one said the party's recent decline is reversible. Still, most offered a sober assessments of the Democrats' position heading into the final stretch of 2021. Here's one quote. To be blunt, I'm not feeling good about where we are. Look, it was never going to be easier or anything. It was always kind of contingent on what got done. I just think we're starting to see how fragile this is. And that anonymous Democratic congressional age, the fragility he's referencing, that's democracy he's talking about. Come back with us. Your phone calls could be next. Hal Sparks soon. Your calls, 844-967-2789. Dial.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
We're putting the band back together.
Sexy Liberal is in person again, this time in Madison.
Okay, fine. Madison it is.
At the Barrymore Theater, October 23rd. All 4 cast members will be on stage performing together.
I'm going into Wisconsin.
Stephanie Miller.
Can I just go with bunker bitch? How many times did you actually put your diaper in your little bunker?
John Fugelsang.
What a pleasure it is to be in a room full of so many atheists doing the Lord's work.
Comedy duo Frangela.
Y'all are some sexy liberals. Yes.
And Hal Sparks.
I got kicked out of the South for thinking too much.
All live and in person at the Barrymore Theater in Madison on October 23rd. But if you can't get to Wisconsin in October, the show will also be simulcast live via pay-per-view on Meathook. Come see the show live or stay at home and watch in the comfort of your living room. A limited number of post-show meet and grope tickets will be available at the Barrymore show. And please, all attendees need to be vaccinated to attend the live show. October 23rd at the Barrymore in Madison. Sexy Liberal return.
Hey, I'm here from Knuckleheads. Have you seen our new location yet? Come on down to 520 State Street for all your CBD needs. We have a huge selection of gummies, oils, and a variety of other CBD products. We also have a gigantic walk-in humidor. The knowledgeable staff at Knuckleheads will work with you to find exactly what you need. Mention Devil Radio at checkout to get 15% off your next order. Knuckleheads, now at 520 State Street. We'll see you there.
Greetings, everyone. This is Nate Tim inviting you to my show, Lay of the Land, about life and politics in rural Wisconsin. Join me every Thursday at 7 p.m. for ideas, guests, and conversation on Devil Radio.
Supplying your political fix on the back roads from Sauk City to Beaver Dam on WTTN 1580 AM Devil Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the I Still Own You Monday edition. Loved seeing the Packers win against the Bears. I love them seeing the Packers win every Sunday, but especially when they beat the Bears, because, you know, literally Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. Here's a thought. A little rumor. I don't know if you've heard this rumor. Republicans want badly to win back the House of Representatives. And I think there is a probable chance that they could do just that. And some of that stems from the fact that the gerrymandering, there are districts in Texas and Florida, every state's redistricting. But in the growing states, and there are a number of states growing that get additional congressional representation, but those states are currently controlled by Republican leadership. And the simple act of gerrymandering could theoretically flip 8 congressional seats from red to blue, or pardon me, from blue to red. It'd be great if they turn from red to blue. They're not going to. They're probably going to go the other direction. And hell, even Ron Kind, the former congressman, current congressman, not running again from the great state of Wisconsin, well, that leaves that district very vulnerable. But what would the Republicans do with the House of Representatives other than, of course, trying to impeach Joe Biden? Well, have you heard this rumor? They want to install Donald Trump as the Speaker of the House. Did you hear that one? Let me share a little bit. This one from the Raw story. For the past few months, some analysts have speculated that if Republicans win control of the House in 2022, they could elect former President Donald Trump as House Speaker, something that would be perfectly allowed by the Constitution. Do you know that, folks? Donald Trump could be the Speaker of the House, which doesn't require the Speaker to actually be elected a member of the House of Representatives. This would bring Trump back into political power 2 years earlier than running for president, as well as put him in line for presidential succession. Think about that. He'd be third to the White House as the Speaker of the House, and Republicans can do so legally, constitutionally. They don't even need a good reason. But Monday, NPR suggested the mere rumors of the idea could be a drag on Republicans in House races next year. You think? Democrats would want to force every Republican House candidate to answer the question, if Trump wants the job, would they vote for him? Reported Mara Lizen. Saying no would anger the bag of base, but saying yes would risk turning off swing voters who are exhausted with the former president. They'd be stuck, which is appealing to Democrats. I think it's totally fair game. Democratic strategist Doug Thornell told GPB, look, like Republicans do this to Democrats all the time. To our frontliners, they say, well, would you vote for Nancy Pelosi? For Republican members, yeah, they should absolutely be on the record on would they vote for Trump as Speaker. Republicans have a clear path to winning the House in 2022. Did you hear that? Republicans have a clear path to winning the House in 2022, as they only need to flip 5 seats to gain the majority. And midterm years historically almost always result in gains from the party out of power. That's the Republicans, if you didn't know. Trump, for his part, has said through spokesperson Liz Harrington that he does not have interest in becoming Speaker. He has preferred to stoke speculation he will simply run for president again in 2024. Although his aides have reportedly talked him out of immediately declaring a run, at least some Republican elected officials like Senator Bill Cassidy are against him running again, and Trump himself has admitted he might be precluded from doing so by his health. For Republicans, according to one lobbyist, the thought of Trump as speaker is either a joke or a nightmare or a dream come true. What do you think, folks? Donald Trump, Speaker of the House. I mean, it'd be great theater. Oh, I think the TV networks, they'd love that. They'd love the ratings. The ratings, they'd go through the roof. Can you imagine Donald Trump during some other president, presumably Joe Biden's State of the State address? Can you see Donald Trump making the faces? I mean, you think it was bad with Nancy Pelosi, doing her golf clap and tearing the speech? I mean, Donald Trump might be doing full Bears fan double birds during the course of Joe Biden's speech. Just one man's thought. 844-967-2789. What do you think, folks? Speaker of the House, Donald Trump. I'd like to hear from you. Once again, 844-967-2789. Hey, tell Dick if he hangs on, he could be first. Out in the garage, Dick, he's a good man. Dick, welcome back. What do you got for us?
Well, I totally agree with you, Kurt, on the fact that we have got to, the Democrats could put them on the defensive all day long if the Justice Department does the right thing this week. Put these people in jail and make them constantly so they're on the defensive. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you don't need the Department of Justice. I mean, you have a sergeant at arms.
Right.
Trump, Bannon and those guys would have to go underground. That's not my impression. Steve Bannon's currently out there making weekly podcasts, dude.
Well, and that's just so wrong, and you and I both know it. We got to shut him up, and all of them. I mean, for crying out loud, it's a airtight case, I think. Garland's got to step up, and it's got to happen this week. After they put him in these people in contempt of Congress tomorrow, that's the vote tomorrow, correct?
I'm not clear. You might have stumped the host here, Dick.
But that said, I'm pretty sure I heard that. Then let's move forward with this stuff. What are we waiting for? Let's get it going. I mean, right now.
No, I agree with you, Dick. I think
you put it in the news every day, right? You create the news cycle by it's a constant onslaught of their legal problems.
No, you make excellent points. Dick, thank you for your call. Stick around, everyone, not just Dick. Got a fine comedian joining us next. He is Hal Sparks. He is part of the Sexy Liberal Survivors Tour. They're coming to town on Saturday. We're going to give you a little sneak preview. Next, Hal Sparks, Devil's Advocates. Stick around.
I am once again asking you to listen to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM. I believe they have the moral fiber to create a progressive movement in Wisconsin and indeed in America.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was
got it.
Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really
hello. Message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
At Pyramid Telephone and Security, we protect what you can't replace.
Telephone insecurity? That's good. That's a novel approach.
You still with us?
I am here. Can you hear me? No? Is it staticky? What do you hear? Hold on.
Yeah, there's something really, really going on with your vocals. It's more than just staticky. It's only static. It's very, very loud.
That's very strange. Hold on a second. Wow, let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Hold on.
That's insane. Maybe try reconnecting to the session one time.
Okay. Let me see. Check. My thing's all right. Yeah, let's see. That's very weird. Hold on. I will do just that. Give me a second.
apparently, with respect to stockpiles. We haven't found them yet.
Current Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says Powell was a mentor and always had time for him.
We will certainly miss him. I feel as if I have a hole in my heart.
Despite being vaccinated against COVID-19, the 84-year-old Powell died of complications of the disease. He was also treated over the past few years for multiple myeloma, a blood cancer that impairs the body's ability to fight infections and to respond well to vaccines. I'm Tim McGuire.
Some people treat investing like a game, but Marcus by Goldman Sachs approaches investing in a smart way with digitally managed portfolios that leverage Goldman Sachs strategies. So, do you want to play games or do you want your money to work smart? You can money. Visit Marcus.com to learn more about saving, borrowing, and investing.
Check one,
from
check
Marcus by
two,
Goldman
check three.
Sachs.
Investing involves risk and investments.
Can you hear
Brokerage and
me?
investment advisory services. By Goldman
Yeah,
Sachs.
there's something going on here. Your voice isn't coming through at all. So I'm going to give you a phone number real quick, if that'll work for you.
I've got you covered.
Whenever you're ready, you got a pen or you know what?
Yeah.
I'll put it in Zoom chat. One sec.
Pepto-Bismol chews.
Pepto-Bismol's
in a
chew? Hold on one second.
They taste great and
I
provide
can do
fast
this real
relief.
quick.
And you can always have Pepto-Bismol handy.
Ooh, let me try it.
Try Pepto-Bismol chews for fast relief.
Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Yeah, that second one is the correct phone number, that 844.
Okay.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your
Yeah, go ahead and stay in the Zoom session. Just, then you can still see each other and everything, and we'll just do the call over the phone.
Asking the legislature to hold a hearing on a nonpartisan redistricting bill, but the Republican chairman is not interested in advancing that bill. State Senator Dale Kuyanga from Brookfield says his constituents are demanding fair maps and asked the Senate Committee on Government Operations to hold a public hearing.
I'm here.
But Chairman
That's
Dewey
me, it's Hal.
Strobel said he has no plan to hold that hearing. Over the weekend,
Cool.
former
I'm doing
President Donald
good.
Trump
Let me
called
see.
for
I don't want to
former
put this on
Congressman Sean
speaker,
Duffy to enter
so I'll
Wisconsin's
hear audio, I guess,
2022
through
race for
the
governor. Property reports indicate Duffy sold his Wausau
through the
home in
Zoom, because I
September
can hear you
and now
guys just
resides in
fine
New
my
Jersey.
way.
Forecast
And my
of sunshine
mic test
today
was
with
good,
lake winds
so
up to 10 miles an hour and a high today of
in
71
Zoom,
degrees.
it sounded
Your sky
fine.
is expected to continue into the evening with an overnight low around 48 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
Very
WTTN
curious.
1580 AM.
Dude, let me see.
Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We welcome back a fine guest from the Sexy Liberal Survivors Tour. He is comedian Hal Sparks. Hal, you probably don't remember, man, but you were on this fine program like 9 years ago. You came on
indeed.
a Saturday, and I think you were our first big national comedian. I appreciate you coming around every 9 years.
Yeah, well, it's been all downhill since then. That's the issue.
Yes.
I think a lot of people. Whoops, there we go. I hear myself coming back, guys. So, but anyways, it's a fascinating thing. Wisconsin and I have a long and storied relationship. I went to high school in Chicago. Did some of my first stand-up gigs as a kid in 15, 16 years old in Wisconsin. And I've always had kind of the same response to Wisconsin as I'm going to go with Harold Ramis in Stripes. Or technically, I guess, Bill Murray. It's not like we're going into Russia. It's Czechoslovakia. It's like going into Wisconsin, right? That's how I always felt about it.
Now, Hal, may I ask, at 15, 16, in the state of Wisconsin, did they serve you at these little comedy clubs at these bars?
Well, I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I've never done anything. I'm a what was formerly referred to as a teetotaler and then became straight edge. And so I've never had that issue, mainly because as I was, when I was 15, 16, 17 years old and I was building a career, it didn't take much. One drink in the wrong club would have got me blacklisted and, kicked out of a bunch of places because they'd be afraid that I would, get their liquor license taken away. So I was really professional about it. And at the same time, watched, some older contemporaries go by the wayside, promising individuals with a future in comedy that, drank themselves into a bad relationship and then vanished. So, not in any respect.
Well, Hal, we've got 41 of the 50 drunkest counties in America right here in the great state of Wisconsin. I'm not sure if you're going to fit in, man. Drinking's sort of a pastime here.
I guess, but I am, part Scottish and Irish. I manage, you like, again, even, compared to Scotland, Wisconsin's pure pro-am, you know what I mean? But you guys also have to consume that amount of alcohol because the cheese absorbs it. So unlike other people, it's kind of like, it's like altitude sickness. Like people in Denver can drink less, smoke less pot because the altitude gives them an extra edge, right? They save money on liquor because they're already slightly buzzed from lack of oxygen.
I didn't smoke any less weed the last time I was in Denver. And I would say, the only unfortunate part about Hal, your arrival this week, last Friday, well, it was Kurterburger Day in the great state of Wisconsin. And they made a run on these things. It was like a hamburger at one of the famous local restaurants with a full patty-sized cheese curd on top. Every restaurant in Wisconsin sold out within a matter of minutes to hours. There was a run on the Kurterburger, man. And my understanding is there's been a run on plungers ever since.
Sure, absolutely. But interestingly enough, people are using them on themselves. This is the curious thing about Wisconsin is you don't clog up your toilet. You use the plunger to get yourself started. Because that'll back you up. That's some serious curd. Does the burger squeak when you bite into it? Because that's how you know you got a good cheese curd, right? Is it squeak? Not just, or is that mice?
No, those are the
one without fur on it.
The cheese curds, you're right about that, but the cheese curds I reference, sir, are the ones that are deep fried. Deep fried with
well, then, quite frankly, not a cheese curd. It's some sort of, that's like saying I have a grilled cheese sandwich with ham on it. Like that's a ham and cheese. Stop messing around. Cheese is and shall always be, in deference to the people of Wisconsin, the greatest condiment. By itself, it's a great way to keep a kid busy chewing on something. But in general, if you're adding anything to it, the other thing is the sandwich.
Hal Sparks,
the cheese becomes it gets marginalized instantly.
Hal Sparks, fine comedian. He's coming to Madison this Saturday night. You can still get tickets at the Barrymore Theater, the sexy liberal Survivors Tour, of course, headlined by Stephanie Miller, but lots of fine comedians on board, including Hal. And Hal, I got to tell you, man, here in the great state of Wisconsin, it has been a political battleground for at least a decade, man. It is crazy here.
Sure.
We had Scott Wanker as the governor for going on a decade.
Right.
And Trump won here. And, now that Trump lost here, we've got Republican gubernatorial candidates jumping in the pool, wondering who could be the most Trumpiest. And we got Trump even wading in, trying to recruit candidates from the real world. Former Congressman Sean Duffy, athlete from log rolling fame, and real world star Sean Duffy. He seems very gubernatorial to me, Hal.
Well, also, you have to understand that, he's got a TV brain, and that's the only way he can think of the worth of another human being. Have you been, or would you look good on television? He even talks about generals that way, which is the least important thing in a general. Is how
he's from Central Casting, though, Hal.
That's right. Central Casting. That's the throwaway line that he always uses. And that's, by the way, he heard that a lot on The Apprentice, which was driven by the producers. Trump never fired or added anyone to the cast on The Apprentice ever. The producers did all the work. He just kind of showed up and apparently filled his diaper when he had hard words to pronounce, according to Noel Kessler.
Hal, last Saturday night, a week ago Saturday night, I went to Des Moines, Iowa, and the occasion was a Donald Trump rally. And the Des Moines Register said 25,000. I would have guesstimated the crowd at 40,000, Hal. It was eye-popping how many Iowans were there on a Saturday night. It wasn't even the only game in town. They had an Iowa football game going on against Penn State an hour away.
That's your dead giveaway. Those people aren't Iowans. If more than half of that crowd are deadheaders that are following him around. They, he says, I mean, at certain points that on my live stream that I do every day, the Hal Sparks, Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide, which is my daily stream on YouTube and all that stuff. I have covered all of his rallies in the last, since lockdown, which was, early last year. And every single one of them, he goes through something where like he points somebody out, like, how many Trump rallies you've been at? Somebody's like, 12, 15, 37. They caravan to these things. It's like Mountain Dew Sturgis. They just kind of hook up their trailer and putt across the country because none of these people have jobs or anything better to do. And he's their great savior. And over time, what they've done is barnacled more and more of these people. So he keeps getting convinced, like, I had 46,000 people in Arizona. I should have won Arizona. Never mind the fact that millions of people live in Arizona, but the fact that 20,000 of those people drove in from all over the Midwest or wherever because there wasn't going to be a rally near them. So you got these people just like teeming out of the stick to come to these things.
But Hal, the surprising part to me, the sentiment, and I've been to at least a half a dozen Trump rallies. And prior, I had always been sort of locked in the, the enemy of the people jail. They locked the press in their cages. Right. Well, at this rally, they denied my credentials. So I attended as a deplorable, if you will. And I was amongst the people, the great unwashed masses. And for 4+ hours, Hal, the sentiment of the crowd was F Joe Biden. And I met Joe Biden, and the man doesn't seemingly inspire that sort of passion in any human being. But that was the overwhelming thing. And if it wasn't F Joe Biden, it was let's go Brandon, which I soon learned also means F Joe Biden.
Right. Well, that's because it has to be Biden's fault because Trump can't possibly lose. He can't possibly be a loser. Then everything they've emotionally built themselves on over the last 5 years will come crashing down on them. They'll have to admit that it wasn't the biggest tax cut in history, that he only created half the number of jobs that Jimmy Carter created in one term. They'll have to admit that it was always infrastructure week and never infrastructure week. They'll have to admit that the slat fence that he built, that he calls a wall, apparently doesn't work and never did because they're complaining that millions of people, which they aren't, are teeming across the border. Well, I thought the border was supposed to stop them in these places. Apparently, it's garbage. And apparently, this flat fence part, remember he said it had to be see-through? That's so that the drug cartels in Mexico, when they catapult giant bales of fentanyl over, the guys catching them don't get killed by the product. So you can either admit that to yourself, that he's a serial sexual assaulter, that when he gets deposed in the E. Jean Carroll case, tons of stuff is going to come out that's just ugly, that he's actually broke. He's going to sell the post office. Next thing will be the Scottish property, then Bedminster. He'll hold on to Mar-a-Lago with everything he's got. And he's going to use all these funds he's gathering in the Save America PAC that he started to pay all of his bills, because that's what all these people are doing. And I encourage them, any MAGAs or Trumpers that are listening, if you have any money at all, I do you even MAGA bro, if you don't send every dime you have to Save America PAC. It's at DonaldJTrump.com. Go there, make it a recurring payment, because none of that money will ever get to another Republican, and he will spend it on his legal woes and his bills. And it will be gone forever. And when it comes time to run, he'll end up not running, because it means he would have to stop taking money from the super PAC the day he announces. That's why he hasn't announced. That's why he's not going to announce. And that's why eventually he's not going to run, because he can't separate himself from the money.
Hal, I might disagree with you on this point. I think that Trump indeed will run. If nothing else, he's looking for another get out of jail free card. Don't you think he loves this spotlight so much, Hal? And I don't think he would win. I don't think he would win re-election, if you even call it re-election. Right. But I think he absolutely wants to run. Don't you think?
No, I don't. I think it's all a ruse. I think it's a money-making scam, and everybody's told him that the minute he announces he's going to run, the money dries up, and he's not going to do it. And he's going to try and make an excuse like Kingmaker or something. He's made a couple of references about his health in a couple of interviews in the last couple of months on why he might not run in 2024. The man is a mess. The number of like malapropisms he does. One of the reasons why they attack Joe Biden stutter so much is because every time Trump does one of these rallies, and if you were at the one in Iowa, you know this. I mean, this is the action replays of magnified fortune, blather that he just kind of makes up when he screws up in the teleprompter. but this one, like, he's getting more committal to those ideas. And then he rambles off into it was stolen. And he's talking these people into, like, don't vote next time and don't vote 2024 unless we fix 2020. Well, there's nothing to fix, and no one's ever going to do that. So he's driving all of his voters away from the election. And the same thing that happened in Georgia is going to happen across the country. And they're going to get more and more demoralized and more angry. And then eventually it's going to rest on him because he's boring.
Well,
he's
Hal,
very boring.
The timing of the sexy liberal survivors tour impeccable. In that, the state of Wisconsin, we're up on the crazy clock. It's our turn for the cyber ninja, corrupted former Supreme Court justice to do his investigation. And I wouldn't be at all shocked if you and all the fine ensemble, including Stephanie Miller, well, you're all going to be subpoenaed, Hal. I feel quite confident.
Oh, indeed. Absolutely. We're spies or something like that. The system that the Republican Party is running right now is basically akin to what the CCP in China does whenever a foreigner travels on land. It's just like, man, we don't trust you. If you look different, you're an outsider. You're obviously here to destroy us. And they have to look at it that way. You have to understand that their level of paranoia is a self-defense mechanism because introspection is too painful. They'll have to look at why they failed. They have to look at why they suck. They have to look at, how they had every opportunity in a lot of ways to get away with a bunch of stuff as far as legislation. And what they get away with? Nothing. They just protected Trump the entire time. And he didn't protect them.
Hal Sparks, where can people hear you? They know you're coming to the big show on Saturday night, the Sexy Liberal Survivors Tour, headlined by Stephanie Miller, John Fugelsang, Hal Sparks, and Frangela. But where can they see you on a daily basis?
I have a live stream that I do every day at 3 o'clock Pacific time. I'm about to start in a few minutes. And it's Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. I started it at the beginning of the pandemic, and now I live stream every day. I have a radio show on Saturdays, the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. It's on WCPT in Chicago. I'll be doing that live there this weekend before I drive up to the show. And then morning show, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I do a morning show on my channel as well. So go to infotainmentwars.com. That's how people can find me.
Thank you so much, Hal Sparks. See you Saturday night. Rest of you, stick around.
Yeah.
More Devil's Advocates.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing
Thank you very much, man. Take care.
Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
At Chaz Design Build, our tagline is building a better world, one remodeled home at a time. Simply stated, we want to be a part of the solution to leave the world better than we found it. That's why we've invested in a 20 kilowatt solar array, which provides over 90% of our electrical demand at our shop, office, and design studio. And that's why we invest in local causes which provide opportunities and which confront structural inequality. At Chad's Design Build, we are proud to partner with you, building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
At Knuckleheads, our knowledgeable staff knows the ins and outs of CBD. Whether you're a veteran of cannabis like the Devil Radio team or a first-time customer, the Knuckleheads team has the information to answer all your CBD questions. Never heard of a tincture? We got you covered. Looking for something to address those achy joints? We got just the thing. Stop into our new location at 520 State Street and mention Devil Radio to our knowledgeable staff to get 15% off your order today. Knuckleheads, your one-stop shop for CBD in Madison.
Hey, this is Rocker, and I'm back on the patio at Salvatore's Tomato Pies on East Wash. I'm having a brand new cocktail you just have to try. It's called Divide and Concord. It features Rocker vodka along with Concord grape, thyme, St. Elizabeth's dram, and a touch of lemon lime. Ask for it by name, Divide and Concord at Salvatore's Tomato Pies. Find Rocker vodka and Rocker rye whiskey at Vic Pierce on Sherman Avenue. Please drink responsibly.
Greetings, everyone. This is Nate Tim inviting you to my show, Lay of the Land, about life and politics in rural Wisconsin. Join me every Thursday at 7 p.m. Join me this week for my special guest, Roger Springman. See you then.
You know what? I'll tell you something. There's nothing better than a hot sausage, couple 2-3 cold beers, and Devil Radio on the box.
The Devil's Advocates. Rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Monday 4 o'clock happy hour. It rolls on. Want to thank our most recent guest, a fine one, a funny guy, comedian Hal Sparks. And he was one of the first, I think he might have been the very first really big national guest that the Devil's Advocates had way back when we were a Hobby Saturday show. Hal Sparks came on. So, from him, that little acorn, a mighty oak grew that has become the greatest radio show ever, accepting perhaps the fine offerings of Hal Sparks. And we got another fine host joining us tomorrow, a fine host in his own regard, the very funny and very intelligent John Fugelsang. John's going to join us at 4:30 on Tuesday. We got Stephanie Miller, a funny lady in her own regard. You listen to her right here on Devil Radio each weekday morning between 8 and 11 a.m. Stephanie Miller coming on Wednesday at 4:30, and the incomparable Frangela. What a pair they make. They're joining me both. Frangela will be on this big show Thursday at 4:30. So the happy hour is going to be chock full of fine comedians all week long. And I encourage all of you, please consider getting tickets to the Stephanie Miller show. It's the only show we're going to do all year. It's the last big show. Consider it a extension of the Summer of Love. One last bash this Saturday night at the Barrymore Theater. And it will be a vaccinated show, and it will be a masked show. So you can go to the show, have confidence that the people that would attend the Stephanie Miller show are also vaccinated like you. They're sensible, they're reasonable, they're science believing, and they probably enjoy the profane, salty, blue-colored comedy stylings of Stephanie Miller, John Fugelsang, Hal Sparks, and Frangela, and a little warm-up by yours truly. I think I get like 3 to 5 minutes, and I cannot touch any of those fine, funny people, but I'll do my snarky level best. A big story, national story, the Raw story, covering the GOP conspiracy-laden election review here in the great state of Wisconsin. As the rest of the headline describes it, it's marred by confusion and constant contradictions. Oh, yeah. The partisan review of the 2020 presidential election by former, and I insert this, corrupted Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman, which is based on unfounded claims of election fraud, is straining local election administrators and damaging the state's political process, according to Dane County Clerk Scott McDonald, a friend of ours. For weeks, Gableman has flipped back and forth over whether or not he will require clerks across the state to testify in private in front of him and his staff. I would not. Just my own personal thought. No, I wouldn't give private testimony. I would give public testimony anytime, anywhere, but I sure as hell wouldn't give Gableman private testimony. He also flipped back and forth over his ability to provide immunity to those who testify, or even if he has the power to prosecute people as an appointed special counsel. He has also requested thousands upon thousands of records that do not exist, have already been turned over to the Assembly Elections Committee, or would damage election security in the state if clerks complied with Gableman's request, McDonald says. Gableman has taken trips to Arizona. Of course he did. Where do you learn about elections if not at the, cyber audit fraud thing they had in Maricopa County? A little bit more here. Gableman has taken trips to Arizona to watch the widely derided audit of the election in Maricopa County. And let's not forget, he also went to the conference in South Dakota with MyPillow CEO and election conspiratist Mike Lindell. I wonder if they got a free MyPillow at the end. Recently, both Gableman and an attorney working for him, former Trump lawyer Andrew Kloster, have said, it's a Kloster, have said that they have no real understanding of how election laws work. Both of the men have also said, without proof, that the election was stolen. Here's a quote. It has been a lot of work to keep up with everything and how it may affect us or anyone in the county, McDonald said. Again, Dane County Clerk Scott McDonald, if I can spit it all out. It feels like your head's on a swivel. The constant contradictions and the changing of directions. This is problematic for our democracy to continue to fan the big lie and try to promote this idea that there was something wrong with the November election. Trump's own appointee said it was the most secure, safe, accurate election. Unfortunately, people here are lapping it up. Oh, yeah. The flip-flopping, confusion, and conspiracy-laden investigation is surreal, McDonald says. One of Gableman's requests copied a request made by a citizen who was attempting to conduct his own review of the election. That was the guy convicted of fraud, right? Highlighting the amateur nature of Gableman's work. Here again, a quote from McDonald. The bigger issue is the constant conversations with our legal team. Some of these requests, inappropriate isn't the right word. Some of the requests we've gotten would make it so foreign adversaries could hack our election. That is the method by which it would happen. It's surreal. He hasn't read the documents already turned over to the Assembly Elections Committee, which he supposedly works for, McDonald said of Gableman. Thus far, the only look the public has gotten into what Gableman is doing is through videos. He's posting videos on YouTube in which Gableman defends his investigation but offers little information. The problem is you can't talk to him, says McDonald. Gableman has also made recent comments that contradict normal legal processes. You don't say. Saying local officials shouldn't work with government lawyers to respond to subpoenas or requests for documents. There's no need to lawyer up, and there should not be lawyers between the people of Wisconsin and their elected and appointed government officials, Gableman said. Yeah. Gableman, you're a lawyer, right? Former Supreme Court justice have to be a lawyer by trade. What lawyer would give a client advice, or really any defendant, any person subpoenaed advice? You don't need a lawyer. The one I ever hear giving that advice is like a cop that wants you to answer questions outside of the custody of counsel. But McDonald said this isn't how subpoenas work. In fact, if a government office receives a subpoena for any reason, the first step should be to go to the attorneys on staff. And even in regular open records requests filed with the government agency, the agency staff attorneys are involved in responding. Again, a quote from McDonald. Anyone knows if you get contacted by a lawyer with a subpoena, that's the first thing you do. That's not even controversial. You get in trouble if you didn't do that. And even Republican members of the Assembly refused to back down despite considerable public pressure from the review they've charged Gableman with conducting. McDonald says he's concerned about what it means for the elections moving forward. The bigger problem from a work point of view is this is going to go on and on and on. Constant open records request is a vehicle for attempts to recount as opposed to the normal mechanisms is going to cause people to be disruptive at polling locations around the state. Again, a quote from Scott McDonald. Thank you to Hal Sparks. Thank you, of course, to Batman, Matt Rothschild for being a fine code devil. Thank you to Evan and Luke for pitching in and Fancy Brian's absence. Thank you all for listening. Stick around. The Earl Ingram Show is next. The Native Roots Radio. And don't forget, John Fugelsade, Stephanie Miller, Frangela, all the funny. And then the big show Saturday night. The cold weather is coming, and for a lot of Wisconsinites, that means hibernating inside your house and praying for a good football season. But you could have an unwelcome guest in the house, and